Just imagine it. You wake up and go for a walk, and almost every place you step has a view of the sea. Moreover, this seascape smiles at you with a warm climate, a bright sun in the sky, the sound of the waves on the sea, and birds flying around. When you visit the center of the city, there are all kinds of colorful flowers, smiling people, and low-rise summer houses. All these objects depict exactly the Mediterranean. Imagine that you live in a place like this and that it is a European Union country. No, this is not Malta. This is Cyprus, as it is known all over the world, my friends. Cyprus is shown as one of the 10 best countries to live in the world. People who are born there or who somehow manage to obtain citizenship there have one of the most powerful passports in the world. In this way, they have the opportunity to live in a perfect geography, and they are ahead of 8 billion people in the world in terms of status. So let's visit the island nation known as the Republic of Cyprus in this video. So let's decide whether the Republic of Cyprus, which rules the southern part of the island, is really a place worth living in. Geographers know that the island known as Cyprus is located in the eastern Mediterranean, just south of Turkey. The island's location is so close to Turkey that it is only 71 kilometers from the Turkish mainland. This is why the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus owns the northern third of the island. However, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is not officially recognized by almost any country in the world except Turkey and has no international diplomatic relations. Greece, which is 900 kilometers away from the island of Cyprus, is the biggest supporter of the Greek Cypriot administration, which owns 2/3 of the island. Cyprus, in the south of the island, is recognized by every country in the world, especially in Europe, and has trade relations. Most importantly, they have strong passports. People of Greek origin live there, and it would not be wrong to say that their ethnic structure and culture are identical to the people in Greece. The entire island of Cyprus is 9,250 square kilometers, while the Republic of Cyprus rules over 5,500 square kilometers, which is 60% of the entire island. The rest belongs to the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. The current population of Cyprus, which is a European Union country and recognized by law, is around 1.5 million. Moreover, there is something special about this island. It is the only place in the world whose capital is divided in two. The capital of both Greeks and Turks is Nicosia, located in the central region of the island. Although more than half of Nicosia is in Greek Cypriot hands, the northern half of the city is in Turkish hands. Taking a break from political issues, these 1.5 million people in Cyprus live life slowly and just like the Greeks. They have a saying. They call it Sega Sega, which means to live slowly without haste. This islander's philosophy of life is about enjoying life, and they love calmness. They live life simply and without stress. Thus, they live a long life and easily reach the age of 90. However, Cyprus is not a cheap place. The most important reason for this is that it is an island country. Agriculture and industrialization opportunities on the island may not be as efficient as on the mainland. For this reason, many products are imported from outside by air and sea. The fact that it is also a tourist destination pushes the prices of real estate and shops there to the highest levels. For example, Limassol, one of the most important and expensive cities in Cyprus, is located in the southernmost part of the island and will meet all your expectations of a warm Mediterranean city with sea views. Therefore, it is not possible to find an apartment in Limassol for less than 800 euros. As of now, any apartment under 800 euros is considered risky and problematic by real estate agents. Possibly apartments for less may be far from the city center or resemble a ruin. Each apartment in Limassol has a price of 50 euros per square meter. So if you want to rent a 25 square meter studio apartment there, the monthly amount you will pay will easily be over 1,000 euros. This is extremely expensive for the world in general. Of course, you don't have to live in the most expensive city in Cyprus and postpone your Cyprus dreams. For example, in the southwest of the island, there are village-style settlements called Mandria, which do not have a harbor or beach. There you can find very good quality apartments for €500 per month. The reason why we say the price is in euros is, of course, that this is a European Union country and the euro is used as the currency. In addition, although the official language of Cyprus is Greek, you can do all your business in this country with English and create a social environment for yourself. The good thing is that even in the coldest times of the year in Cyprus, temperatures hover between 10 and 12 degrees Celsius. So if you go to Cyprus even in winter, you can probably walk around the island in thin clothes with short sleeves. You will not see even the locals wearing very thick winter clothes during the winter months. Since this is an island, those who want to stay on the island need to have a good reference in order to do business. They need to leave a positive impression on the customers, because Greeks attach great importance to reputation and trust. For example, for a job on the island, people value the words and opinions of people they know and work with people recommended by their friends. Indeed, even though this is a European country, it is a huge village and you will not find a large corporate company in every sector to get your work done. For this reason, in this luxurious village, you have to reach reliable people who do their job honestly through your acquaintances. When you examine the traffic situation in Cyprus, you will see plenty of vehicles in traffic despite being an island country. There is also a situation that may seem different to you about the traffic in the country, which is that the traffic flows from the left. Therefore, the steering wheels of the vehicles in traffic are located on the right side of the vehicle, not on the left. This is because the island was a British colony until 1960, and this affected the way traffic was handled on the island. This traffic culture has not changed after independence and has been maintained throughout Cyprus as a legacy from the British. As you know, in the UK today, traffic also flows on the left and steering wheels are on the right side of the car. In Cyprus, the journey between the two farthest points of the island takes an average of 2 hours. In this sense, you have the chance to access the whole island within a few hours. There is no subway or train system in the country. Transportation is provided by taxis, minibuses and buses. In Cyprus, people wake up around 6 a.m. in the morning and by 9 a.m. everyone is at work. Children go to school and adults go to their workplaces. Nearly half of the people have jobs directly or indirectly linked to tourism, while the rest work as civil servants in government offices or banks, or work for private companies investing in the island. The working people take a break at 1 p.m., and as you may remember from Greek culture, they take a break for about 3 hours. During these break hours, some people go home to sleep, while others pick up their children from school and take them home. This break time is called siesta all over Europe. People start working again around 4 or 5 p.m. and continue their work until it gets dark, that is until 7 p.m. After the working hours are over, the people of Cyprus fill the venues at night and spend time with the people they love. Because they have a 3-hour break at lunchtime, their bodies are not so tired and they are vigorous. So don't think that people just go home after work and call it a day. Both locals and tourists contribute to the tourism industry in Cyprus and keep the island alive. Of course, when summer tourism ends and winter comes, you will be able to see a lot of calmness on the streets of Cyprus, because the population of the island is limited, and when tourists go to their own countries, both cafes and touristic areas can remain empty. As living conditions on the island are expensive compared to the rest of the world, the chances of a middle or low-income family coming to live in Cyprus later in life are slim. Those considering permanent residence in Cyprus are mostly wealthy families from European countries. So much so that the new living spaces built on the island mostly consist of villa-style houses with luxury pools. There is almost no chance for a normal person to buy these houses and settle in Cyprus. Those who have money can buy a property on the island as well as anchor their boats in the island's harbors. As the island is close to Africa and the Middle East, many Syrian refugees row to Cyprus. But even if they make it to Cyprus alive, they do not find what they hoped for. Even if the Cypriot government accepts some of the refugees arriving on the island, it only offers them a monthly allowance of €200. Moreover, refugees are never given the chance to find shelter in the busiest parts of the island. They have built small spaces for them in the most remote towns of the island where they can find shelter. The lucky refugees on the island work for minimum wages in construction sites, gas stations, and shops. People with a criminal record who do not have a clean record are permanently removed from the island. Most refugees in Cyprus are Africans and Middle Easterners. According to a 2023 survey, it is assumed that there are around 40,000 refugees in Cyprus. Another issue is that in Cyprus, if you want to turn to the tourism sector and you have the idea of opening small boutique hotels, the state offers you incentives on this issue. For example, there are stone houses on the island, especially on the side streets, which are at least 50 years old. These houses are usually 2 or 3 stories high and have their own garden. If you restore these old buildings and bring them back to the community, you get both tax breaks and incentives in terms of rent. For this reason, you may come across old detached houses in Cyprus that have been restored and converted into pension rooms. They're also called guest houses, and their prices are cheaper than regular hotels. However, the banking systems both in Cyprus and in other European Union countries may confuse you. For example, in European countries, you cannot make a cash purchase over €10,000. This is also the case in Cyprus. If you want to buy a product that you find cheap in the country and has a price over €10,000, you have to shop with a credit card. In other words, you cannot make large purchases without using a bank. This is because in most European countries, banks are the official way of taxing people. For this reason, many countries encourage you to shop through banks. In Cyprus, they care so much about taxation that they even ask for a grave tax. For example, you may live in the town of Bafra in the west of the island. If you want to be buried there when you die, you have to pay a grave tax to the relevant government agency. But don't be intimidated, because Cyprus is also seen as a tax haven by many companies. For example, if you are a digital nomad who does business online and works in e-commerce, you can stay in this European country for up to 5 years and you are exempt from taxes such as dividends. For example, in many countries, while a certain amount of corporate tax is paid, company shareholders also pay a 10% tax to the state when they want to withdraw their shares from their net profits. In Cyprus, you are not charged this dividend tax. You only need to pay the standard income tax on behalf of your company or individual. The income tax rate in the country increases according to the annual amount you earn. This rate starts at 20% and rises up to 35%. Therefore, you can live in this climatically perfect holiday paradise without feeling cold, enjoy the benefits of the European Union, and do business with acceptable taxes. There is also an abundance of cats in Cyprus. There are very similar cats in Turkey, and somehow they have managed to reproduce in this island country. Cats are creatures of warm climates, and when you are walking around and eating in restaurants, plenty of cats will approach you and ask for food. Cats are also often seen in the vegetable markets. There is a public market on Saturdays in the country, and Cypriots say that the products sold in the markets are completely natural and organic. Agricultural production in the country is much higher than that of Turks in Northern Cyprus. This is because the island's fertile agricultural lands are mostly in Greek Cypriot hands. Greeks produce olives and olive oil, potatoes, carrots, and various vegetables. They produce wine from their vineyards, and they have a cheese called halloumi. The reason why you will see a lot of elderly people on this island is that they consume these naturally produced foods with natural olive oils. Most people under 70 do not suffer from cardiovascular diseases. Despite this, Cypriots love to eat fatty meat. They especially eat fatty lamb meat with appetite. Already in the Middle Ages, the island's inhabitants lived in the mountainous areas in the central parts of the island, not on the seaside, because the sea coasts were not suitable for both agriculture and animal husbandry, and they were too windy. For this reason, people moved to more central regions. They practiced animal husbandry there and raised animals like goats and sheep and fed on meat. So the fact that Cyprus is an island country should not make you think that people there are more inclined to eat fish. They are more animal meat lovers. According to the World Health Organization, Cypriots are most likely to suffer from diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. Those over 70 suffer from heart disease. Greeks, unlike Turks in the north of the island, do not drink tea often. Turks are tea drinkers both on the mainland and in Northern Cyprus, but Greeks living in the south of the island often drink coffee instead of tea. It is very difficult to see tea on menus in restaurants or cafes in the country. You can find almost every kind of coffee in this country, and you will mostly see people drinking coffee. Cypriots drink tea mostly when they are sick. Cypriots import the products they do not have from countries such as Israel and Italy, which are geographically close to them. Southern Cyprus has no trade with the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, because they think and claim that it is occupied by Turkey. Another reason for the longevity of the people here is that the islanders are very chatty. They are not selfish and withdrawn. The fact that people are kind and smiling towards each other is another factor that prolongs their lives. Again, in history, Cyprus was always present on the maritime trade routes between Europe and Asia. Malta, like Cyprus, was a frequent destination for people traveling by sea because product transfers were made from ships on these islands. The fact that Cyprus is bigger than Malta has strengthened its strategic position, and people have come here with more permanent goals. Throughout history, Cyprus was part of the Eastern Mediterranean plans of the Romans, the Ottoman Empire, and the British. There are even several surviving Venetian columns and bridges on the island. In 1878, this island was even handed over to the British, or in other words, leased for 92,000 British pounds on the condition that the sovereignty remained with the Ottomans. Because at that time, the Turks had lost the wars against the Russians and were in search of new resources. Later, when the Ottomans decided to fight alongside the Germans in World War I, the British completely seized the island and annexed it. In the following years, the Greeks and Turks expelled the British from the island and became the real owners of Cyprus. Today, if we focus on the facial and body genetics of Cypriot people, we see that people are not very white-skinned and not very dark-skinned. People are generally auburn or tanned. Although they are of European origin, the mild and high temperatures of the climate they live in have enabled the people of Cyprus to adapt over time, and people have experienced hereditary changes from white skin to bronze skin. Therefore, you will see a warm skin color on the faces of the people of Cyprus. In terms of their outlook on life, Cypriots are broadly divided into two groups. The older ones, roughly those over 60, are more traditionalist and live according to the old rules. Young Cypriots, on the other hand, adopt a more liberal mindset. In other words, they do not care much about political pasts and politics. They do not harbor enmity against Turks or other nations because of the past history of Cyprus. Cypriot elders, for example, may refer to people of different nationalities who come to the island later as xeno, meaning foreigner, and may marginalize them. The elderly are often fixed-minded and have fixed rules of life. For example, they are very fond of their comfort. If you rent a house from an elderly Cypriot and you try to reach him or her on holidays, such as Saturdays and Sundays, the landlord may not answer your calls. You have to wait until Monday to reach him because they don't use messaging apps like WhatsApp, and most of them don't prefer smartphones. As you know, Cyprus is an Orthodox Christian country and has the same beliefs as Greece. You will see many churches in the country, both historical and serving. However, if you want to go inside these churches, you may come across that they are closed. In other words, to visit a church in Cyprus, you need to go there during the worship hours when the church is in service. Otherwise, they do not keep the churches open and close their doors. Infrastructure and public services are underdeveloped. For example, the island's hot climate increases the possibility of fire. A major fire on the island could render many settlements uninhabitable. This is because the Republic of Cyprus does not have a fire suppression system that can quickly respond to large fires. For this reason, locals on the island are extremely afraid of natural fires. On the other hand, there are frequent dust storms all over the island. These dust storms also damage agricultural crops and homes. The island is also located in an earthquake zone. If you come from a geography where you have never felt an earthquake in your life, you will probably be very frightened by earthquakes in the Greek islands, Turkey, and Mediterranean regions such as Cyprus. Earthquakes in the Mediterranean Gulfs can have magnitudes of more than 7, and this is a direct cause of the collapse of buildings in old settlements. This is why you will almost never see high-rise skyscrapers or high-rise apartment buildings in Cyprus. The island consists of 2-story buildings at most. Cyprus also has a colloquial nickname. They call it the Island of Divorces, my friends. No, you did not hear wrong. Cyprus must not be very useful for married people. Married people come to Cyprus at some point in their lives. They like this island and they move to the island for good. But after a while, divorces take place. A 2019 study showed that Cyprus has the highest divorce rate among European Union countries. After Cyprus, Lithuania and Hungary have the highest divorce rates in Europe. In Cyprus, for example, 9 out of every 1,000 married couples divorce. The reason for this is mostly due to infidelity. Especially those working in the tourism sector cheat on their spouses with tourists coming to the island after a while. That's all we can say about the country of Cyprus for now. Goodbye.